The first time Armand Valles watched the security footage, his hands began to shake, not with fear, but with a quiet, devastating confusion that cut deeper than any loss he had ever known. The cameras were meant to protect his daughter, meant to give him peace in a world that had already taken too much from him. Instead, they revealed a truth that would shatter his carefully controlled life and force his heart to feel again. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of humanity, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, Kindness Journal. Stories like this live because of people like you. Armand Valles was a man who had built empires from discipline and silence. His glass and steel mansion stood on the edge of the city, surrounded by open gardens flooded with daylight, white stone paths glowing under the sun, and wide windows that allowed light to pour into every room. It was beautiful, expensive, and painfully empty. Success had given him everything except peace. Once, he had laughter in these halls, once he had music echoing through the corridors and barefoot footsteps racing across the marble floors. That all ended on a bright afternoon when fate chose his family without warning. His daughter, Ara Valles, had been 13 when the accident happened. A simple daytime drive, a moment of distraction, and everything changed. The crash did not take her life, but it took her movement. From the neck down, her body fell silent, leaving her brilliant mind trapped behind eyes that still searched for warmth. Armand lost his wife to grief not long after, and in the quiet months that followed, fear became his closest companion. Fear that something else would happen. Fear that he would fail again. Fear that he could not protect the only soul he had left. That fear was why the cameras existed. Armand installed them everywhere except the bathroom, each one discreet and silent, watching hallways, common rooms, the garden paths, and especially Ara's sunlit bedroom. He told himself it was safety, that money had taught him prevention was cheaper than regret. Nurses came and went, most unable to last more than a few weeks under the heavy sadness that lived in the house. Eventually, there was only one person left who stayed. Her name was Nayila Roon. Nayila was young but carried an old stillness in her eyes, the kind shaped by loss and responsibility. She arrived one clear morning with simple clothes, neatly tied hair, and a quiet voice that did not tremble in the presence of wealth. She was hired as a live-in maid, though her role quickly grew into something harder to define. She cleaned, cooked, and assisted, but she also lingered near Ara longer than necessary, adjusting pillows, opening curtains wide so the daylight touched her face, and reading aloud from books she brought herself. Armand watched everything from a distance. From his office, from hotel rooms during business trips, from the lonely nights when sleep refused to come. At first, Nayila seemed ordinary, efficient, invisible. Then small things began to appear on the screen. Ara's eyes followed her more than others. Her breathing steadied when Nayila entered the room. Her fingers twitched, barely, but enough to be noticed by a father who had learned to observe the smallest signs of life. Still, Armand did not trust easily. Trust had failed him before. The cameras were always on. Days passed under bright skies and warm sunlight. The mansion no longer felt as cold during the day. Windows stayed open longer. Fresh air moved through the halls. Ara was placed near the balcony every morning, her wheelchair angled toward the garden where flowers bloomed and birds crossed the sky. And every day, Nayila stayed beside her, speaking softly, though no responses came. One afternoon, while reviewing footage during a business lunch, Armand noticed something that made his chest tighten. The nurse on duty had stepped away, and Nayila was alone with Ara. The camera showed Nayila sitting on the floor beside the wheelchair, not working, not cleaning. She was simply there. She held Ara's hand in both of hers, resting it against her cheek, her eyes closed as if sharing warmth. There was no professional obligation in that moment, only presence. Only care. Armand felt anger rise. Boundaries mattered. Roles mattered. He told himself to confront her, to remind her of her place. Yet he did nothing. What he did instead was watch more closely. Over the following weeks, the footage showed a pattern. Nayila would talk to Era as if she could answer, describing the day, the clouds, the sound of leaves in the wind. She adjusted Era's hair with gentleness that felt personal. She played soft music during the brightest hours, letting sunlight fill the room while melodies drifted through the air. Once, during a power outage, she moved Era closer to the window so she would not feel enclosed by darkness. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was midday, sunlight flooding the bedroom.